Hi, I wanted to talk to you today about transition IEPs and what's in them. And I'm going to show you an example from a Alabama IEP. This is from Mastering the Maze, and it shows the forms that you use in Alabama. This page here, it's a page you would have in the IEP, student's name, date of birth, transition. It says beginning not later than the first IEP to be in effect when the student is 16, or earlier if appropriate, and updated annually thereafter. For all students entering 9th grade, regardless of their age, transition must be addressed. You'll have to show that the student was invited to the IEP team meeting, and if you're going to invite any other agencies, you have to get prior consent from the parent or student. The student's 19, so you would check that if that was applicable. And transition services based on the student's strength, preferences, and interests that will reasonably enable the student to meet the post-secondary goals are addressed on the transition goal page in this IEP. Then you're going to select your age-appropriate assessments. What assessments did you use to write this transition goal to come up, or this transition plan and come up with the goals? Then you get down here. You have to have a long-term goal that's a post-secondary goal in post-secondary education, employment, and in community independent living. So you're going to have to tell which assessments you used to help develop this long-term goal. Now on this page, we're writing the long-term goal. This is not going to be something that you can assess while they're still in school and say, yes, they met this goal. This is a goal that you want them to be able to achieve when they leave school. And I'm going to talk some more about that in a bit. But you'll write your assessments that were used to develop the plan, and you would write your goal. Now, in Alabama, you don't really write the goal. You select it from a drop-down box. You can select other and then write your own goal. And we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so you have to have one for post-secondary education, employment, occupation, community independent living. And then if the student's in middle school, you would mark that. You need to select their pathway to their diploma. Are they general ed pathway, essentials pathway, or alternate achievements pathway? And then you're going to write how many credits they need, where they're going to get the credits, etc. Okay, so we go to the next page. And this is in Mastering the Maze, and it tells you all the stuff I just talked about that you need to complete on that previous page. Now here, some things to remember, and I'm not going to read these to you. If you want to see these, you can go onto the State Department's webpage and download Mastering the Maze and read all this. When you're in Alabama, when you're writing your IEP, when you get to the transition page, when you go to write those post-secondary goals, there's going to be a drop-down box on the computer. And that drop-down box is going to have these options. For post-secondary education training goal, student will be prepared to participate in a 2 to 4 year post-secondary education program based on completion of graduation requirements and meeting college admission requirements. The next one, student will be prepared to participate in a long-term certificate pathway or long-term apprenticeship program based on completion of graduation requirements and meeting certificate program requirements and or apprenticeship requirements. The next one, student will be prepared to participate in a short-term certificate pathway program or pre-apprenticeship program based on completion of, etc., etc. Next one, student will be prepared to participate in on-the-job training based on completion of IEP goals, high school program, and submission of application for supported employment. The next one, student will participate in time-limited pre-employment services in order to prepare student to participate in supported employment services. And then you can choose other and write your own goal. And we'll talk about that in a bit too. Then you see employment occupation. Once again, you have choices in a drop-down box. Reach college and career readiness by potentially earning an industry career credential. Be prepared to participate in competitive integrated employment with no need for support based on successful completion of career exploration, community-based work, and/or cooperative education experience. Be prepared to participate in competitive integrated employment with time-limited support based on successful completion of career exploration, community-based work experience, and/or cooperative education experience. Prepared to participate in supported employment, which will include community-based assessment, job development, job coaching, and extended support needed to meet his or her employment needs based on successful completion of school-based work experiences, community-based career exploration, and application for supported employment services. Or prepared to participate in pre-employment services to increase the likelihood for community-based integrated employment based on IEP goals, individual or parental choices, requires application for adult services in order to acquire skills needed for competitive integrated employment through supportive employment services. And then for community living, prepared to participate in community activities and live independently. Or time-limited support will be prepared to participate in community activities and live independently based on independent living skill level achieved and identification of community living options, support options. Or prepared to participate in community activities and live semi-independently with ongoing and frequent support, etc., etc. Prepared to live in a group home or other supported environment with full-time support based on independent living skill level achieved, or a student will be prepared to live with parents, guardian, or relatives based on parental preference and independent living skill level achieved. And then, of course, you can choose other and write your own. So you can see with the drop-down boxes, it's there for you. Now, when you get to the IEP goals, you're going to be writing goals that will help student reach those long-term goals. So your IEP transition goals are not the same as your long-term goals, but they're going to be goals that will help the child or the student work towards meeting those long-term goals. So you're going to look at present level of academic achievement and functional performance. You're going to look at their strengths, preferences, just give a description of the age-appropriate transition assessments. Where's the child now? Where's the student now? What can they do? Then you're going to write your goals. Post-secondary education training goal. What is your goal you're going to reach for this school year that will help them achieve their long-term post-secondary education goal? And then for each goal, you're going to have to name a transition service and a transition activity. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And this is probably going to be in multiple videos. Okay? Same with your employment goal. You're going to write a goal that will help the student work towards their long-term employment goal. So you want to write a goal. There's your goal right there. And then you identify the transition services that will be provided. And then list transition activities that will assist them in meeting that goal. And if there's any, and then persons, agencies involved. And then the same thing with the community independent living goal. Transition services, transition activities. Here are your transition services: vocational evaluations, community experiences, personal management, transportation, employment, development, medical, post-secondary education, living arrangements, linkages to agencies, advocacy, guardianship, financial management, and if appropriate, functional vocational evaluation. So those are your transition services you're going to be considering for putting in the services. So for community independent goal, you might have living arrangements as your service, depending on what your goal is. And then transition activities, I'm going to provide you a list of just some suggestions for transition activities. In Mastering the Maze, this next page explains how to fill out that page we just talked about. And it describes these transition services in more depth. And I'll provide you a link to Mastering the Maze. Okay. Now, let me go to this. Actually, before I do this, let me talk about transition goals in the IEP. In other states, they write much more specific long-term goals. Here, after graduation, Paulo will work 20 plus hours a week at the local grocery store and provide temporary supports through vocational rehabilitation. That's much more specific than our drop-down box. And right here it tells why it's acceptable. And here's a non-example. Would be Paulo will be referred to the vocational rehabilitation for assistance with job placement. That's just telling that you're going to refer him there. It does not give you a goal for him to achieve. And I'll provide you a link to this page too, because gives some good examples and non-examples. Okay, independent living. After graduation, Jamario will follow the laws of the community, demonstrating an understanding of the need for laws to ensure his and others' safeties. After graduation, Jamario will maintain his hearing equipment by attending annual checkups with audiologists. Okay. Post-secondary education. Given direct instruction in the high school business. No. Now we're getting to the IEP goals here. These are goals, your IEP goals. So if we wanted Alex to, Alex's post-secondary goal. After graduation from high school, Alex will enroll at King's College and take a business math class to improve his work-related math skills and to advance his career in business. So an appropriate IEP goal would be, given direct instruction in the high school business math course and guided practice, Alex will use an adding machine and create spreadsheets using money management software with 85% accuracy throughout the spring semester of this IEP. Okay, and then you would still need to give the services and activities. And this talks about some services here and activities, but we're not going to go over that right now. Let me pause this a second. Okay, I'm going to run out of time on this video because I can only make a 15-minute video. But here are some transition activity examples for various areas. Transition instruction, you see, so study skills, employability skills, job search, goes on. I'm going to provide you this. Community experiences. These are activities. Remember, you name the services, but then you got to list activities. So you can pull from this, or you can come up with your own, but this is just some examples. Development of employment activities that would go with that. Related services. Daily living skills. What are some activities? They might take a life skills class. They might work on menu planning. A student might need to work on travel and mobility training, leisure skills training. And these are some functional assessments. That might be one of your activities, that they participate in some functional assessments to figure out what they need. And here's some linkages. This page talks about linkages with adult services, which can also be an activity. You can say, as the activity, students going to be connected with Voc Rehab and begin the process of becoming a client with Voc Rehab. Okay, I'm going to attach these in the class, so they will be in the resources probably.